Because even on the beach, they didn't show it, but I was like, Phaedra, is this real?
What we doing?
Like, because what's not going, is this a drill? It's not a drill. Like, we doing this or we not doing this? Blink twice.
Like, what we doing?
Phaedra was a G. She was just like, I ain't scared. So when it comes to maternal rights, and even if you were to get pregnant and have an accident, like, right, acquiring like the morning after pill, they're starting to.
They're gonna get rid of that?
Well, some states. Healthcare is a state issue. Your state determines what rights you have as a person, as a woman, so to speak. To override that, there is federal protection, which is what Roe versus Wade used to do, because states are crazy, right? Somebody may be super conservative, be like, we don't believe in abortion, and then people are trying to do it themselves, little girls in the bathroom with a hanger. The people who come onto your page just to tell you how much they hate you are literally like, they're not well anyway. Like that there's a level.
Damn, it's a lot of them though.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's something else. Like, I mean, I've cast members. I mean, and they're not well. You gotta
do who they want to do.
Do you
and do
and do him and do her and they, we us, them together, whatever. I really think, YOLO, baby. Like, you get one life, you got to do as much as you possibly can. Like, you can't waste these opportunities. Our ancestors fought so hard for us to be able to get the benefit of like swiping cards to get things, or just logging onto a computer, being able to work from home, or being able to just go to school, or work a job at night so you can save up to go to college or whatever it takes. I don't want to waste those opportunities. Just to be clear, the show has not, they didn't implant that conversation. That wasn't AI, it wasn't false.
I get emotional thinking about that because, I want to experience that same kind of love. To my YouTube channel. You're watching The Real Sweet Tea, and today I have a dear friend of mine, Contessa Metcalfe, Dr. Metcalfe to y'all.
Yes, MD MSPH.
What she said. So a lot of people are wondering, like, how did we come into like meeting each other? And so I met Contessa through Gregory.
Always. That's how we mostly meet a lot of our friends, through our kids, through our spouses, our relationships, our girlfriends. But it was instantly, I was like, this is my little sister. Oh. And we're fellow Geminis.
I know, Gemini.
Yeah.
People
don't get us.
We look crazy though.
We are, but it's more like, I always say grand opening, grand closing. Like, I'll give you 100% or I'll give you nothing. Like, because I give and pour out my whole heart to you. Yes. I am so kind. If you said you like these earrings, I'll give them to you.
You are like that.
But once you cross me, because I have not earned that, I'm done. I know who you are now. I know what you're capable of.
And I'm the same way. Like, we're sweethearts. We're sweethearts, and we wear our heart on our sleeve. And once you mess with us, it's pretty much over. Because
we will take it, but we'll reach our breaking point. So we're the best friends to have, and we also peep game. I say we are attentive, so we see when our friends are being taken advantage of, and we're kind of like those protectors too. Like, we're just like watching. It's like, oh, that's your friend. Oh, you love that part. You love that dude. Okay, I'm gonna keep watching. I'm gonna be like in the shadows.
I am like
as your protector.
I'm like.
Right.
Let me know when I need to come out.
I will when it gets to a breaking point. If I need to intervene, I got your back. Yeah. If you need me to be your soft place to land, I'm that too.
Well, like, a lot of people think that like me and you are like just friends just for the show, but like Gregory is actually real friends with Scott. Like they've hung out, they went out to the cigar bar,
Is anybody real friends for the show? I don't feel like that. I think that's paradoxical. It's either your real friends or your coworkers.
Your coworkers.
And I think people have to be real clear about that too. You got to be honest. Like, this is my friend or this is my coworker. And I'm kind of glad that some people have started to be clear about being distinctive about those terms.
Right.
But
because on the show they use the term the friend group. Yeah. And so I'm like, in what friend group or a friend situation that you actually use that term? Like, either you're friends or not. It's like the friend group.
I've worked all over this world in both the private and the public sector, and I have some people who I've acquired as friends as a result of a job.
Yes.
But I think the good thing about even this kind of community of medicine. People I acquired from high school, college, medical school, grad school, residency, and now as an adult and working in medicine. Some people have fortunately become my friends, and you cross paths. You do. You got to be good to people. I know people.
Yeah, you do.
People feel like you can burn a bridge when you walk across it, but I've never had success with that. So I can go back anywhere I've ever been and get a job there normally. There's probably a few exceptions. I mean, Wendy's, I didn't leave Wendy's very well. They probably
You didn't leave
it wasn't no good
terms
when I lost Wendy's. It was bad.
Well, even with my military career, years later, I had someone that was in my brother flight, and then later on, I ended up he hooked me up with someone that I ended up having a roommate situation with when I moved to DC. I joined the Air Force back in 2010 and went to basic in 2011, and so I met this guy. And we just kept in touch. And then I didn't move to DC until 2017. And so I was super excited. You never know when you make those good connections and how that person can help you later on. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about your military background.
Well, I was going to ask you, why did you join the military?
You know what? It's funny because my mom encouraged me and my sister to join the military, and I was going through community college. My parents couldn't really afford us both to go to college at the same time, and so she was like, "Well, why don't you join the Air Force?" Because she was telling me when she was a little girl, she had a little friend, and she said her mom wore this uniform, and she was in the Air Force, and she thought the uniform was so cute and stuff, and she's like, and then I heard that the Air Force actually, was they treat the service that treated you
the best.
The best.
Yes.
We had the best quarters and the duty stations. Now,
Club Air Force.
Club Air Force,
yes.
Right. They call us the chair force, but I'm very comfortable in my chair.
Yes. The chair force.
So I just ended up joining, and I ended up going in as a medic, a pharmacy tech. I originally was going to be a med tech, but I was actually a point shot on the ASVAB, and they messed up on my score. So I went through basic training, and once I went through basic training, they actually sent me home after basic training. I didn't go straight to tech school.
Oh, wow.
No, yeah.
That's unusual.
It was very unusual.
Yeah.
And then a year later, I ended up going to my tech school.
Did you think they had put you out? What happened?
I went to I was in the reserve. I went to my reserve.
Okay,
unit.
So you were in the reserves.
So I was in reserves.
Okay.
So but I've always been a traditional reservist. So I ended up getting assigned as a pharmacy tech. And so a year later, that's when I went to tech school. So I went. It was a weird transition because they treated me like I was back in basic again, and I had been out for a year. So it was like a culture shock again.
Yeah.
It fucking sucked. I had a car and everything when I showed up to tech school, and they were yelling at me. I was at Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio.
They're like, "What you doing with this?"
Yeah. It was the strangest thing, and so I had to go back to marching again and everything. It was terrible. But then I went through my pharmacy tech school. I ended up being a pharmacy tech. So that's when I went back to school. And I worked as a pharmacy tech part-time.
Okay.
While I was in school.
Which is a great job, by the way. For people who are considering careers.
It is.
Being a pharmacy tech is a great job.
I actually love being a pharmacy tech because I used to tell, I called myself the trap queen. And I remember being, I was I'm the trap queen.
Doing them pills, baby. Yes. Just don't slide that in your pocket because that's a felony.
Right. Okay. You were a medic?
I was a physician, yeah. So when you were telling your story, it's so interesting. So when I was in college, I wanted to go to medical school, but of course that big debt that everybody is worried about was also a worry to me because my daddy was a truck driver and my mom worked at the post office, right? So how are you gonna pay $400,000 carry to one,
right?
And all that student loan debt, and so I was like, what can I do to pay for this? I can't afford it. And so me and some of my friends actually started looking at resources, and we looked at, it was called the HPSP, Health Profession Scholarship Program. And so what happens is you have to be accepted to medical school in order to apply for the scholarship. But the Air Force, Army, and the Navy all have those scholarships. And the Marines, a little tidbit, is actually a subsidiary of the Navy.
Oh, yes.
They don't like to hear that. People don't like to hear that.
Yes.
But the Marines don't. So the doctors for the Marines are also Navy doctors.
Right.
And so I did that scholarship, and then I went to med school, and then they make you pay your commitment back after you finish residency. But you can also do residency in the military as well. And so you technically, what happens is when you're finishing college, then instead of going to boot camp, we go to officer indoctrination school. Mm-hmm. And so we did that, and then kind of like you, then you kind of go and do medical school, and then at some point, years later, you'll put on a uniform. But I made a fatal error too, because I had forgotten about like where I put my pins, where I do this, where I do that. And one thing that is true is people in the military, if you're ever outside, you notice they always have on what's called their cover.
Yep.
I had forgotten that.
Your cover.
I didn't realize it because it was like my first day walking
they was
into.
about to eat your ass up.
Well, I did. So many people were like, I was like, I'm popular. I must look good in my uniform.
Ooh.
People staring at me.
Yeah,
I'm like, why are y'all staring at me?
on. Get your cover. Get your cover.
And so finally, the good thing about the military, one thing I love about the military is the way that they correct people. This guy walked up to me and he literally, and I was like, why are you all close? Like, back up, give me 50 feet, right? He walked all up to me and like whispered in my ear. He said, ma'am, your cover. And so he was like saying, put your hat on. You're outside. And so that's kind of how. You
realized you didn't have it.
I didn't realize but I also realized why I was going to love the military. Because as much as it looked bad, that person felt like you are a reflection of us. And so you got to get this together. But I'm also not going to reprimand you in public I'm not going to yell it to you. I'm going to whisper it to you because I just want you to be okay. I want you to look good.
I went to school with the Navy, the Air, the Navy, the Air Force, Coast Guard, so we called each other wing battleship mates, and the Army.
So I did that when I went to Vietnam. I did the JPAC mission, the Joint POW MIA mission. So I looked for remains of people who were lost in the Vietnam War.
Oh,
and
wow.
so I was in Vietnam and Laos.
That's badass.
But that's when it was all the branches. So it was everybody together, Air Force, Army, Navy, and Marine. So
did you like that?
It was the jungle. Day one on site, there was a bamboo viper, which is one of the most poisonous snakes in the world. It just like slithered like a couple of feet away from me, just like because we were out literally like the site.
Heck no.
So it was crazy, but it literally wasn't even paying attention to us. But it was like when I was, we went to Hickam Air Force Base to train in Hawaii. So that was so much fun. So y'all do have amazing. Have amazing bases.
Yes,
but it was one of those experiences that I will never forget. But when I was in Vietnam, apparently the rural area where I was, they didn't see a lot of people of color, and so I would go running in the morning. And day one of me going running, because we were like literally like living in a hotel, because we would live in a hotel, but it was like a really small kind of like village town, but they had like a little hotel. And so I would go running. I felt pretty safe, right?
Okay.
It didn't seem like any crime or anything. But this guy, one day, kind of was like running kind of next to me in his regular clothes. And I'm like, what is he doing? Like, he's like pacing me, right? I'm running for exercise and he's like, some strangers like pacing me. And then he was like, ha 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 ha. Like, he's like pacing, like running with me, ha ha ha. And I'm like, the fuck are you laughing at? Like, why are you, And I was just like, what is happening? If it was in New York or like Kansas City where I'm from, I would have been like, okay, it's time. This is not a drill. We about to do this. But I found out after a couple of days that they had not seen black people, and they thought I was like an alien or something. And so then they had like these little markets and stuff.
That is crazy.
So he was like weirded out, like he didn't know how to respond. And so then it was almost like it was two of us who were of color on this mission. And so people would walk up to us, like literally crowds of people, and we were there for like a long time, like months. So they would end up like kind of touching me to see if my skin, like, it was crazy. And so we would get massages.
What?
But it was crazy because
they were
curious.
You were foreign.
I was foreign. But it was almost like, seriously, like that person was just like, and then it was like they didn't know what to do. And so I found out, because I was getting massages and they spoke some English, that they had not seen people of color since the Vietnam War.
Oh, wow.
And so they didn't even know. And this was kind of, long time ago. Like, we would have to go to this little internet cafe to get on the internet.
Oh.
But they didn't see us. They didn't get, they didn't get American TV or any of that stuff. And so I was a foreigner, but like foreign in every way, because everybody they had seen ever had been Asian and then some white people. So what the heck am I? Like, looking at me like, what are you?
I've only experienced that one time, and that's when I went to go visit my sister in Taiwan. And she took us to my sister she got very acclimated when she lived there. And so like we were riding around on a moped, and I came out there, had braids and stuff like that. And, it was like we went to the spa, and it was like a hot spring spa. And I just remember we got in the water, and, and we're twins. And so they were like, whoa.
Like, it's two of y'all?
Yeah. They were like.
Right. They touched me. Seriously, they were so intrusive, and it was like I didn't know the first time it was the first person who touched me. Grace of God was an older lady. The first person who actually like touched me, and because it was an older lady,
I can't imagine like doing something like that.
But walks up and was so confused, like, what are you? And it was, I'm like, I'm a freaking human, right? But it was so seriously like, is it real?
Black History Month.
Right. And then it got to be almost like it would become a thing where people would start feeling more comfortable in doing it. And I was like, and it got to like after a couple of weeks, it was like, okay, y'all touched me. I know y'all have gotten it doesn't come off. And so then the other thing that happens in other parts of the world is they have different beauty products. If you go to Asian countries, they have so many bleaching and whitening.
I did hear about that.
And so when we go to the market, do you know people would give me, like they would walk up to me and hand me
the skin lightening cream?
They would give me or show me the products, like almost saying thinking it's because you've been in the sun too long. Because they could not figure out where I came from and why I was there, but why I looked so dark. And so I think the assumption became, you just been in the sun. Like, it's not just from another place.
They think that white is right. Because even when I was in Taiwan, a lot of people were walking around with umbrellas out in the sun and stuff like that.
Sun protected.
And I was just like, dang.
Being light was normal. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't.
Love the urban
culture. It was the
culture.
first time it was a little bit of fear, but then I realized that he wasn't going to hurt me when he was pacing me. And it was like, what the hell is happening right now?
That was the weirdest thing.
That was so weird.
I'd be like,
and he had on regular clothes, like he had on like pants and a shirt, like khaki. And I'm just like, why are you? And I got on exercise clothes. I'm like, you're not running.
That's how you know the culture is so different, because it's like you don't just run up to someone like
it was very different.
See that's different, and then you're like, ha.
But I would love to go back with my kids and my family at some point, because it was also a very structured environment, and that part, like I said, was called Lao Bao. It's right on the border of Laos and Vietnam. So I don't know if I would go back there, but I would love to go back because I love to travel and I love to explore other cultures. But it's just the same thing that sometimes we meet people or someone has a different lifestyle, a different relationship, a different culture in their family. You look at them like they got two heads, and you're like pacing them, trying to figure out what is going on with them, because you're different from me, so you must be wrong, or something wrong with you, or am I really seeing what I'm seeing? So it just kind of taught me. I think the military also taught me cultural sensitivity, and it kind of sucks that people don't think that's important now, because I didn't over-respond. I didn't hit this person. I didn't push somebody away. I was confused. I felt uncomfortable, but I sat in that space for a minute long enough to figure out that this was not something that was an unsafe environment. It was just, they were curious, and they weren't responding in the way that I would as an American, as a curious American. What I tell you, this is when people ask how we became friends, this is how we became friends.
Right.
We just start talking.
We got commonalities.
So many similar experiences, but also
there's a lot of differences that we can learn from each other. When I found out, I was like, it made me feel warm.
Absolutely. It's a safe,
like something.
Veterans it's like, I feel like, it's
a safe space. So it's familiar.
It's familiar, but it also is, you're willing to do something greater than yourself and feel like, because we had to raise our right hand and say, I'm willing to die for this country. And when you meet somebody else who's like, you crazy like me? You was gonna do that too? Oh yeah, hell yeah. Because when September 11th happened, I'm telling you, I was in med school and I was like, activate me, I'm ready to go.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, I didn't know what I was gonna be able to do.
Lord.
They had this ship called the USS Comfort, and I was like, I want to do that. Let me just put me on the ship. Like, they were like, but you're more useful to me after finishing medical school. So stay put. Trust me, it will be time. And
oh my goodness.
But I was like,
imagine being called for that.
I was like, I'm ready to go today. Like, I was like, this is the true act of patriotism for me to say today, let's do it. I didn't care. And it was probably not a good idea, because I would have gone to wherever I needed to if they would have said, go and do something that's outside of your pay grade, so to speak. But I just felt so impassioned that I wanted to do something, like me just sitting at home and not kind of fighting for my country. I just felt like I wasn't doing enough. And so that's what I feel like when I meet another veteran, they at some point in their life, even if their motivation was a scholarship or something, felt like they needed to do something bigger than themselves.
Yes.
And understand that the people who came before us, for me, it was my uncles and other ancestors. Even Scott's dad was a POW in World War II. For I think, I want to say maybe a year. Like, he was gone for a long time. Like, they thought he was dead. His father was a POW in World War II.
Oh my God.
Exactly. And so when I think about people like him who sacrificed, and people in my family, it is only because of that can we have a country where we get to live in this way, But then on the same token, you also hope that the people who are superior to you, who have the power to send me places and have me do things, take into account the sacrifice that I'm willing to make.
Right.
And don't just do it haphazardly or cavalierly like, oh, we're just going to take over Canada. Don't send me no bullshit like that. I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not doing that.
I remember like you weren't there last season, but I remember I think it was Phaedra. She had made this comment about me being a weekend warrior, and I was like, you can't say that about me.
Because you were a zero warrior.
I was like, you can't.
Weekend is better than no time.
And I love Phaedra. This is the first season.
Of course, love her.
But I love Phaedra. But I was like, you can't say that about me because like with us being the weekend warriors, like in the Air Force, like we're the first ones to deploy. And so like I've always been a traditional reservist, but there's a program out there that I had volunteered for in the Air Force. Yeah, full time.
FTS.
And we
full-time service.
Yes, it's full-time service. They call it something else in the Air Force. But I had volunteered for these orders, this assignment, and I had no idea. It was outside my career field. And this is how I like came into working in the intelligence community. I was like working a regular job and someone was like, hey, you should be doing this other thing. It was on the Air Force portal and it was on ArcNet. And these are for people that are in the Air Force. Make sure you look into this on ArcNet. But I would go in and you can apply for these jobs that are outside your career field because I'm originally a pharmacy tech. I applied as a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act analyst, and I also worked for Advanced Distant Learning Center. I learned a lot of IT work for them. And so I was like, oh, I had no idea. Like, I'm just a pharmacy tech, and that, like, I signed the orders. I came in. I did an interview, and they came in, and I had to come in uniform every day. And I was active duty for like 2 years. But I ended up moving to DC because after I got off active duty, like it was just like I was getting call after call after call with all these different job fields. And I worked at the NSA at night cleaning to upgrade because I had a secret clearance. And so I worked at the NSA, the National Security Agency, at night, and then I upgraded.
You said cleaning?
Cleaning. Just to be in the building, you get a top secret clearance.
When I tell you, I love the fact that you've lived like 12 lives. Well, at one point, you know what's crazy? And Scott was like, Contessa, you are a nut. I asked to be considered for the FBI. When I got out of the military off of active duty, I was like,
I think that would have been great. I think that would have been a great job for you.
I wanted to be like, yeah, remember like Scully? I was like, man, I really wanted to be, I was like, this looks
Scully
amazing.
and Mulder?
Girl, I wanted
My mama loves that.
Because you know she was a physician, right?
Oh, I didn't know she was
she was a physician. I was like, yeah, I can do that.
Oh.
I am, you know, I'm scared of a lot of things. Like, don't put a snake in front of me because, you know, hence we came back to full circle to the snake. But other than that, I really think, you know, YOLO, baby. Like, you get one life. You got to do as much as you possibly can. Like, you can't waste these opportunities. Our ancestors fought so hard for us to be able to get the benefit of, like, swiping cards to get things or just logging onto a computer, being able to work from home or being able to just go to school or, you know, work a job at night so you can save up to go to college or whatever it takes. You know, I don't want to waste those opportunities. You know, my mom got sick really young, but it also, and so did my dad, believe it or not, he had Crohn's disease. And so my mom had breast cancer in her 20s, but my dad had Crohn's. And for anyone who suffers from Crohn's disease, they understand how debilitating that disease is. It's an autoimmune disease. But he had, you know, really chronic abdominal pain and ulcers. He would bleed a lot, and he had several surgeries.
Oh my gosh.
Several abdominal surgeries, had several parts of his colon cut out, small and large intestine is what, you know, small intestine and his large intestine. Colon is also the large intestine. So he's had so many surgeries starting in his 20s, and I looked at how much time they spent in like healthcare facilities and under treatment, and I was like, the blessing of not being sick, man. You know, for somebody who like lives with a chronic illness and they see you just going out there skipping and stuff, it's like right. It's like you take for granted. Yeah, you do. How easy certain things are, like just walking up and down steps for people who can't do that, you know? So I just don't want to waste any of this. I don't ever want God to be like, oh, she don't care about her sight. Let me take that shit away from her. You know what I'm saying? Oh, she don't care about them, you know, the ability to do cartwheels and stuff. Let me just, you know, just remove that for a second. So I love my freedoms. I love the IQ I have and the ability to learn. So every day I feel like it's a new opportunity to get another feather in my hat.
And you got plenty of feathers, especially as a mama.
I got plenty of feathers. But let me tell you, the feathers that has led to more feathers for me was the military. And I think what has bonded us is even talking about some of the benefits that has come from being a veteran. As much as I'm a doctor, I'm telling you, the government has really, truly, in some way, whether it be in, you know, directly or as a contractor, I have benefited tremendously from my military service, just like you did. Mm-hmm. And it's frustrating now to see some of the challenges that the people who are in leadership are feeling like, oh man, we're going to just snatch this away.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, especially people who grew up with my background, uncertainty of whether or not there was going to be enough food in the refrigerator, uncertainty of whether the lights was going to come on when you flipped the switch or water was going to come out the faucet when you turned the spigot. Mm-hmm. We love the idea of that 1st and 15th.
We sure did.
Or actually,
we shouted it out
normally,
1st and 15th.
Normally, it's actually, our money come in on the 28th. If it's this, or the 30th or whatever. Whatever it is, 28th, 30th, 31st, whatever the last day of the month is, it comes in advance.
That's all I know, though. Like, since I joined when I was 19, and now, working for the government and all that, and I've always been a contractor, I only know government. I only know
guaranteed money.
Guaranteed money, for sure. And so the greatest thing about being a veteran, someone had to hit me up and let me know that they actually, they would pay for the IDF.
Yeah.
Up to I think it was 3 rounds.
That's nice.
Yeah, but
do you have to have so let's talk about that. Again, I also for a long time did disability stuff, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know, I just am the doctor, but I don't know of that benefit side. In order to qualify, is it that you have to just be a veteran, or do you have to have some kind of disability?
You have to have you have to have a disability that's related to infertility.
Infertility.
And so
the definition of infertility is not having unprotected sex for a year and not getting pregnant.
Yes, and I had learned that.
Yep.
Somebody, I came across somebody on TikTok and they were talking about that.
Yeah.
Because they don't really explain what really infertility is considered.
So let's say it again. If you've started your period, so we ain't talking about somebody who's not started the period or somebody who's going through menopause who no longer is ovulating. If you're having unprotected sex, so be careful. If you're having unprotected sex for a year, and it don't have to be the same person, just period. Just keep on doing it, doing it well, and you're not getting pregnant. If you've been doing that consistently, you've never been pregnant. If it's with the same person, then the infertility could be due to sometimes male causes.
To that person.
But if you're doing it with several different people and you've consistently been doing it with several different people over the course of your kind of adulthood and you've never ever had a pregnancy scare, then that does warrant you probably talking to someone to get some kind of workup. Mm-hmm. We call it an infertility workup, and gynecologists do that. Obstetrics and gynecologists are this OBGYN, that stands for obstetrics and gynecology. So that is those doctors. Obstetrics is the delivering of babies, taking care of pregnancy.
I'm glad you're breaking that down.
Gynecology is the female part of it. And so some people practice pure gynecology and they stop delivering babies anymore because of, it's busy. I'm glad you really explained that. The reason people do that is for several reasons. One, you can get called in at any time if you're still delivering. But some people have switched or done fellowships or trainings to become specialized in gynecology. Mm-hmm. And then they can do sometimes certain surgeries. They just are infertility specialists, and they could be high risk. Then there's special types of obstetrics doctors. Some of them are high risk obstetrics doctors and blah, blah, blah. But you can find doctors, your regular doctor, your regular OBGYN, or even a family medicine doctor can send you for some of the testing to start that process to figure out if there is a problem, or it's just been like you've been lucky a whole time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You just been missing, because there's a short window of ovulation every month, typically for a woman. Sometimes they
I didn't even realize how much it was, because I remember I had to take the test, the ovulation test every. And so I'm like, damn,
I felt like
my window was so small. Like, when I was getting the positive, because at first I thought that you had a huge window. Mm-hmm. That's what
normally
I thought.
About 5 days.
Yeah, it's very short, because I swear I only get those lines for like 3 to 4 days, and I have a short ovulation window or fertility window, and so I was so upset. I was so upset at first because I was doing the I think it was like some type of first response, and I was getting like a sad face, and I thought after my cycle, I'm like, I thought I was supposed to, I was going to be able to do it, and I was going to just get pregnant so easily, and so I had to do it within my fertility window, and I kept on I don't think I was testing myself every day like I should, and because some people say they use it so they don't get pregnant. Some people say they were doing it.
Playing with fire. So the other question is, how frequently are you ovulating? How long is your cycle? And we talk about that, meaning from, bleeding, ovulate, meaning you drop an egg and then you bleed again. And so for some people, it's about 28 to 30 days. Mm-hmm. But for some people, it's 60 days or 90 days. Or some people only ovulate a few times a year. And so and it could be several different reasons. Sometimes it's actually structural, meaning you have fibroids or you have one ovary, or you're just not, your tubes are blocked up. It could be so many different things.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can be an endocrine problem. Like you actually have a problem with your glands that are supposedly secreting the stimulation to make you ovulate. And so that's why it really is a journey that people have to do some studying, go to see a specialist or a doctor. And then this whole girl, you can just do this. You can use a pull-out method. Good luck with that. Because again, what you don't know is if you're pulling out at the right time, and sperm is, somebody got strong, good sperm, that sperm can live
in there for a couple of days. Right up in
I don't know the exact time. I've heard so many different things, but sperm it ain't like you can go wash it out. Like you don't just, you go pee, let me just pee it out.
Pee it out or dish it out.
That one sperm, all it takes is that one.
To get up there,
holding on, waiting for a couple of days, and then and waiting to that window, and then and there's some rare people who can have sex with 2 or 3 different people, and it's crazy. They can ovulate and drop two eggs, which is how people talk about that.
And they can be different.
And it can be 2 different. They had sex with 2 different people. They dropped 2 eggs,
twins,
and so that's actually does
2
happen.
different daddies.
2 different daddies.
I saw that.
Very
I was
cool.
like, oh my God.
Very cool and very rare.
It's
very
crazy.
Lucky. Very lucky for that person.
But damn.
I guess.
What did it say about that person though?
Well, I mean, I don't slut shame nobody.
Free.
And I hate the word. I hate that term.
Free.
I hate that term because if it was a man, nobody would talk about that.
They sure
you know
wouldn't.
What I'm saying? So I think that whole term, I think that slut, even that
slut shaming.
I think that word slut is very freaking frustrating. I think if everybody's being honest with everybody, then everybody's above board.
I think that people should do what they want to do.
You gotta
do who they want to do.
Do you. Do you
and do who
and do him
do.
and do her and they, we, us, them, together, whatever your ministry is.
I mean, depends on what it is.
It's your ministry. But that's the part that you have to kind of track if you're very serious or you get to the point where you're like, okay, now I'm ready to do this. Like I'm ready to get pregnant. One of the conversations I have with a lot of my friends, which gets frustrating, is they're just like, you know what? I want to do it right. I want to wait.
Do it right.
I want to wait till I'm married, and that's noble until you get to a certain age, and then you sometimes just got to do it. Like if you want, you can choose. You want to be single, you want to be married,
or
do you want to have a kid? It's nice to have all the married and the kid, but then there's never a guarantee of forever anyway, right? So if you make that decision that I really want to have a kid, and you say in this time, set these goals, in this time period, I want my kid. So when it comes to maternal rights, and even if you were to get pregnant and have an accident, acquiring the morning after pill, they're starting to.
They're gonna get rid of that?
Well, there are some states. So the other thing about understanding there's 2 different, so the healthcare is a state issue. Healthcare is a state issue. Your state determines what rights you have as a person, as a woman, so to speak. But then to override that, there is federal protection, which is what Roe versus Wade used to do, because states are crazy, right? Somebody may be super conservative, be like, we don't believe in abortion, and then people are trying to do it themselves. Little girls in the bathroom with a metal hanger, drinking trying to drink toxic substances, trying to make themselves. And again, just like that sperm hanging up in the canal, it's really actually challenging to miscarry if you that doesn't happen, right? So people thinking you can do something to take something, normally those things don't work. You could kill yourself, but actually miscarrying, people get into car accidents, they don't miscarry. I mean, you see people running marathons, they don't miscarry. So that whole belief that you can figure out how to do that yourself, that is so unsafe for a woman. And so that's why for allowing a doctor to assist in that
with that process.
That's correct. And even to do, because sometimes what will happen is you may also affect your ability to conceive at a later date because you have traumatized all the anatomy that was normal before, but you trying to get rid of this one unwanted pregnancy has led to some issue where you then unfortunately can't conceive when you're ready to. And so that's why it was all these horror stories that were happening all across the world, that people, not in my backyard. But then in America, they started looking at the data. It was like, wait, it's happening here too. And so then this famous case, Roe versus Wade, came up. And then that's how they were allowed to create this kind of federal rule that now all across the nation, this is a protected thing. This is protected. Like now you can have an abortion if you like one. However, we've now reversed that. And so now went back to the states. So now the states decide. And so for a woman who is having an emergency, because sometimes that happens too, what do you do? And so interestingly enough, I think we talked about it. I don't tell this story all the time because it's very traumatic for me, but I lost my first pregnancy and I was 6 months almost, it was really far. And it's a trouble for me because there were pictures of me, like I went to my friend's wedding and I hate to look at those pictures because I was pregnant. And so it was like a week later after that wedding, I came home and that miscarriage.
So far along.
But the crazy thing is, I had to spend 2 days in the hospital. It did not happen immediately. So I thought I was.
How did they get it?
So I had to deliver. I had to push the baby out.
Oh, gosh.
No. And that's knowing the baby was too young to live. And so I actually went through labor. I labored the baby and,
to see?
Of course we had to hold her. I got my little pink, they give you a little pink box with the pictures. Interesting. Scott named her Cora. I don't know why he named her Cora, but that was the name he gave her. And he would, again, certain things in certain relationships you just don't talk about again. But now it's been a long time, and I can talk about it. But I think about had I just been at home, there was this open, I was it was kind of dilated. It wasn't completely dilated, so they tried to make me dilate more and more, but it was already, the bag was pretty much coming out.
Oh my goodness.
And so they knew it wasn't going to work. And so
what was
imagine,
the complication?
Well, that's the problem. So a lot of times when people have miscarriages, you never know. And again, so preterm labor, miscarriage, those terms can be used interchangeably. The question, I got treated with each subsequent pregnancy with what's called a cerclage. So the belief was that my cervix dilated too early. And so then they do this thing called basically stitches in your cervix to stitch it closed until it's time you're at the point to now the baby is viable and you're ready to go. But of course, if that stitch ain't gonna hold if there's something, if it's
right.
But that's what the treatment was, and I would have to get checked all the time, lots of ultrasounds and things of that nature to make sure I was still not dilated with each subsequent pregnancy. So I was considered high risk. But going to imagine had I not been in a hospital and being in a sterile environment, they were coming in cleaning because they knew this was kind of a nidus for infection. And so when you're kind of in that situation, imagine that my uterus kind of being open in this bag of this baby coming, that's an area where you can get sick. That's where you can actually get infections. Yes. And those infections can become what's called septic. And then my whole body shuts down. And that is what you should not have to manage by yourself. I was able to, as even married to a doctor, go into a hospital and be monitored fully 100% for almost 2 days until I was able to actually, deliver the baby. So it was horrible for me. And it's been long enough to where I don't cry or anything anymore. But it's still something I think about a woman who has to deal with managing that herself, and possibly some people don't survive it, right? Some people, they have a complication. If there was a complication, it would have been caught immediately in the hospital. But now their hands are tied because it's like, is that considered assisted abortion? Because I wasn't delivered yet. And so it becomes tricky because doctors don't want to lose our license. We don't want to go to prison or be completely ostracized in the medical community for what could be perceived as assisting in abortion, even though there was nothing that could have been done to save that pregnancy. So that's what the challenge is with women today. Yeah. In the military, we didn't have, I was here in Atlanta. And so I had to go to a civilian hospital. But TRICARE paid for all of this. And so that's the other part. If you are an active duty person, we have the benefit of TRICARE. And so what happened was then when I went back in the military, because I was pregnant and delivered that baby, they gave me the full 6 weeks of maternity leave. I needed it for mental health, but also my body thought I just had a baby. So I was, I produced milk, so I had to dry that out. It was so, for a woman.
There's so many things that you go through. So many things that you go through as a woman. And then also you come back home and you see the baby stuff fall in the rooms and stuff like that.
But to me, the empathy of having a rule already in place where the military allowed me that time to be at home. And so there's so many benefits, in my humble opinion, of being in the military. If I would have had another job, there would have probably been a discussion. We got to have a meeting. Did she or did she not have, because there's no baby. So is she eligible for maternity leave? I don't know. And if I have a boss who's an asshole, they may be like, you know what? No, I don't think that counts. So that's why sometimes it's a challenge, but that's why I liked kind of the hard and fast. Like there were so many kind of hard and fast, like, L7 square rules. Like this is what it is. Like we're not going to debate this. It's already established. This is the policy. I'm a policy and procedure girl.
I talked to Greg. It's funny, like being married to someone that was not military, that does not have military background, and so I'm always trying to explain to Gregory about like some of the benefits and all that, and he's like, "No, don't worry about that." I'm like, "You better well use the damn benefits." What you mean? So a lot of people like this season, we actually filmed a lot about. Me talking about the IUI, getting ready for that and all that, but maybe it wasn't that interesting. But a lot of doctors, they wouldn't even allow. A lot of them don't want you even in their office because they're wasting a lot of their time. The time.
Yeah. You have to close your office for the time period when you're filming.
At a pelvic rehabilitation with a pelvic rehabilitation doctor, and sweetest lady, Dr. Taylor. Shout out to Dr. Taylor. I love her. You got to check her out. But I filmed with her, and then she shut down the office and everything, and they didn't even use it. Use it, yeah. And so going back to Gregory, like Gregory, he just feels like, we got it and all that. And so I felt like when during the season, they're like trying to make fun of the fact that like I want to use my benefits. And I'm like, why is that something that we're making fun of? Like I'm just smart.
I go to the VA.
Right, I go to the VA. I'm like, I'm gonna use my benefits
from the VA. I get and if the VA can't handle me,
why would I pay out of pocket for stuff that
free. That's a benefit.
Free. Like,
I earned this.
I'm using my benefits.
It's not even free. I raised my right hand and said I was willing to die for this country, and in exchange for that, this is what I get for the rest of my life as a benefit.
So now Gregory's all he's. To me, I felt like he was judgmental at first, but I feel like he's enjoying the perks.
Because he didn't get it. Yeah.
He's enjoying the perks as being a spouse.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that was another thing that we bonded on, right? Because when you were navigating that process, I was very happy that, you call. I was like, anytime you had a question, I was like, I have no problem.
Contessa was my go-to person.
I help people navigate that process. I've done it for a long time. And I don't tell all the things that I do, but I love the fact that I was able to train, in the military and even see medicine in a way where patients don't pay for anything. Mm-hmm. When you're active duty, you don't pay a copay. You don't any medications. Nothing. You don't pay a copay at any doctor's office. When you're active duty, you get, if you have a bunionectomy, you get your full, you get full pay while you're out of medical, Yep. I think there are so many benefits that I just took for granted. And so when I got out and I was like, man, I wrote a prescription for somebody and they was like, I can't afford that. I was like, you pick it up at the pharmacy. Right. They were like, no, you got to pay for it. I'm like, no. I thought insurance. That was a transition. I was completely under the impression that insurance covered everything because of the way TRICARE works. And good Lord. When I see these kids out here who are just confused about not having a plan, I'm like, join the military. So how is it going to work now for IUI, IVF? Like now, has the government changed their mind about what they're going to do for veterans? I have not heard it yet, but I heard they were trying to make their way over there to start making changes. And I'm like, don't touch my stuff. Like I love my benefits. I am a advocate of using your damn benefits. And so, like right now, I've been going through the IUI. I've done What's that look like? So what happens? Tell me the process.
The inner uterine insemination. So pretty much is like when I go in, usually whenever I start my cycle, they go in, they test and make sure, they check my follicles. And so when they check my follicles, they make sure everything looks good. And then they also give me these trigger shots. And after a couple weeks, I do these trigger shots. And so whenever you go in, like my spouse, I think Gregory does have to pay. I think he does.
Okay.
So he only
what's he doing?
Girl, he just ejaculates in the cup.
Okay.
That's all he does. That's like
so so what does that look like? Because I've never seen. So is it a room? Like
it's a room that he goes in.
Like is it a big room?
I tried to call him because I was like, I want to be there for support, and he didn't want to answer the phone, and I was like, answer the damn phone. Like, what are you doing? And he was like, I'm trying to do my business up in here. And I'm like, is it cold in there?
I don't know. I'm asking.
What is it like?
Did he say he's never described the room?
He just says just a room, whatever. I think they had a TV in there.
I would have a TV. I would think there would be some visual stimulation happening. I mean, I'm
like, did they give you a magazine? And he was like, no,
they should give you some videos or something. Like, I don't know, like you should have a library of selections, like, because some people are into like, are you into like woman on woman, man on man, woman on man on woman?
I asked Gregory, I was like, what you watching on your phone?
Chicka bow bow, like,
I was like, what you watch on your phone?
Babysitter Chronicles, like, what is your thing? Like, you have to like, because if you've ever been in like the porn, like there's categories, right? You know what I'm saying? There's categories. So I'm assuming, so you got to have something for everybody. You know what I'm saying?
I say you better be watching somebody from the Big Titty Committee, because I know damn well. Because
also people, they have like a MILF category. They have like they have so many different. No, I'm telling you, it's like I remember. No, I'm saying because I remember.
Don't ask me how I know.
Well, you have to know, because it's confusing the first time you ever go on a porn site. Like I don't even know what my search was and how I ended up there. And I was just like, but I was there.
They got some weird
but
stuff.
You got to like, once you're there, and I thought, to me, the most interesting was vintage. Like, because then it's a story. It's like, you're going to date with somebody and then you like falling in love, versus just like, come on, girl.
What you doing with my stuff?
If the UPS dude, if he think you walking up in here, he about to get blasted. But you should have Gregory like secretly record. Like, do like a little narration. Like, this is what you walk in and see,
You know what? Somebody does need to see that from a male perspective.
Absolutely.
They do need to see that. I know whenever I go on TikTok a lot to watch a lot of people's stories, the IUI and all that kind of stuff, and so I actually never really seen the male perspective of like what that looks like for them. After he does his business where they test the sperm, and then they later bring me in, and so I go in and I see the little vial and all that, and so they're like, "Is this your husband? Make sure you verify his date of birth and all that kind of stuff." And so Gregory came in, and he was like, "It better be." And I'm like, I'm pretty sure they're not going to...
calm your ass down.
Right, I'm sure they're not going to mess up this sperm.
We're going to give him some value. Calm down.
Right.
No. They have to ask. It's like, it's like if you have a surgery, they have to do like a site check. They make sure, okay, so just to confirm, you're going to have a carpal tunnel syndrome, carpal tunnel surgery on your left wrist, right? And then they marked it. This is the right side. So you have to do that.
And then, of course, Gregory, in his story, he thought that by the time he was in his 40s, he was going to be having kids and all that. He just kind of looked up and was like, well, it's time to get married.
Does he still want kids?
He still wants kids. He still wants kids. Now he's been talking to me more about adopting, and I'm not opposed to it, but I just feel like right now, for me at this time,
also, I know people both. I mean, I actually did the foster to adopt. Me and Scott went through all the classes for Fulton County.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So, but that was a bit of a challenge because they made it a little bit more complicated. I ended up going through that process, getting approved. I got pregnant. And then they told me I had to wait to after I was till my baby was 6 months or something.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was to me a big mistake, because here I am, almost, Lauren 16, almost 17 years later, still haven't adopted. I would have absolutely, if they would have given, I would have made it work. It was like having twins or triplets.
Wow.
If I was just newly pregnant. I was like, I think it was showing. It was like 4 or 5 months. I can't remember exactly how many months it was at that moment, but I remember thinking, man, I could have had a whole kid, and the kid could have been settled by the time I had this kid. And me and Scott had the means to have, like, we had a nanny anyway. One point we had an au pair. So I'm like, why can't I? We have the means, we have the space. Like, I wish that rule, I don't know if it still exists. I sometimes will say, there's a kid I left behind. And I probably could have fought harder. Like, I just got distracted. Like, I became a mom. I started focusing on that. And then Lauren and Landon are 19 months apart. So I kind of then end up getting kind of pregnant
right after.
Not too far after, when I still had a little baby. And so it comes up in my head all the time, and I do feel guilt, and I haven't done anything. I've thought about it over and over again, but the part is you also have to catch the person when that's why I was asking if Greg still wants it, because he was very interested at that moment. He's never expressed interest since then. If I don't bring it up, he will never again bring up the fact that we literally, they make you go through weekly classes, you go through a whole series, and we completed the course. So the only thing we had to do was a home visit, where they actually come in and assess and make sure that you have a room and you have space. That was the only thing. And they could have then we could have done what's called respite care, which means a kid is emergently removed from the home. Like somebody, there's trauma, some abuse, or kid some parents get arrested, and this kid who maybe is temporarily in foster care just until they find a family member or something. We could have done that. But we have never been called by Fulton County to start receiving kids. I was going to say another benefit, the military actually, which was awesome, offered full maternity benefits. Like, I could take 6 weeks off when I got the kid. That was when I was active duty.
Okay,
and so that was another kind of cool benefit of, like, the military that they gave paternity. I don't know if they
time to bond with your child and stuff like that.
And even if you adopt, they will still give you just like I birthed that baby, or child. So that's another benefit. The military to me, there's so many benefits of being in the military. You learn skills. I always say when someone doesn't know what they want to do, if they don't know where they want to go next, if they don't have a plan, consider the military because they will teach you.
I'm very big on like people. If you don't know what you're doing with your life, I recommend for them to just go in the military.
Yeah, a couple of years.
Just,
instead of sitting in the basement.
I think the minimum you can do is like 3.
I don't know.
They go 3, and then I think 3 active, and you can do 3 reserves.
Any friends that are in an age gap relationship?
Yeah, so Scott is 7 years older than me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's 7 years older than me. So I have a bunch. I mean, I have a lot of friends who are in a lot of age gap relationships. I mean, the thing about when it comes to after a certain age, like you just got to figure out who you're compatible with, right? I think people are different.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, different
phases.
Live your
life for you.
You got to figure out who's, but it definitely poses some challenges sometimes because, when there is an age gap, then there is this whole sometimes minimizing or feeling like you know better than me or you didn't, that.
And yeah, me and Mary, we've gone through that, and like some people like it's an age gap. It's like no, it's not an age gap thing. Like we can learn from each other, and then, so like I want to highlight age gap relationships, and I try to talk about it in a positive way, but also there's negatives too. Like I don't ever want to like be one of those influencers that's like, oh, look at my relationship and it's so great. I've never tried to present that. Like I've always just been open and honest about my feelings. Like I don't give a damn who you're with. You're always going to have your differences with that person.
And therapy works.
And therapy does work.
Therapy works because there's a third party who has no vested interest other than making sure you guys have both an equal voice and a successful outcome. Mm-hmm. But sometimes people, they have toxic patterns because they have toxic parents or toxic siblings or they've seen things and this is the norm for them. You know what I'm saying?
But it's not the norm for you.
Good Lord, my daddy, if you heard my dad is interesting, right?
I met your dad.
Oh my God. Yeah. He'll charm the pants off you, right? But my dad has a commercial hauling business, right? And so my dad would be like, hey baby, how you doing? Oh my God, I love you so much. And he'll start crying, literally he will start crying. Like, I just want to let you know how much I love you. Hold on one second. You dumb motherfucker. I'm like, Dad, who are you talking to? And so it's like, what the hell?
It's like,
he talk, and I'm like, he's like, this dumb motherfucker worked for me. And I'm like, you mean your employee? Like, you can't talk to him like that. But that's his way. I'm paying you. And this is how I get to talk to you. But also growing up, there was elements. He talked to me one way, but he talked to my brother a totally different way. Mm. And so I have seen, and even with my mom, it was challenging because I have seen evolution. And even I'll have conversations with my dad, and he has not completely evolved, but it's things that he again would say, well, my daddy never said he loved me when he was growing up. I'm like, almost, you 7 years old. What are you talking about your daddy for? But the problem is people see things and they sometimes pattern things and they think it's normal because it's the way that they've done it. And so that's why, as much as people want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, that's why therapy works, because it's kind of like you don't get to do that.
Yeah,
you don't get, and you then, but if you choose to,
you think it's normal.
You think it's normal, but if you choose to keep doing things in a certain way, even after you've been taught, you do get some, you get some time to modify it, but you have to have that desire, and then you have to be teachable. And if you're not coachable or teachable, then that's different. But if you say, you know what, I don't want the same outcome. 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 Then a lot of times you'll start looking at yourself, because we always like to think it's the other person. Yes. Whenever something goes wrong, you always want to blame. I hate when people say, you made me. I hate that. And I tell my kids that. My kids will be arguing or something, and now
they say something like that to each other.
Oh my God, you made me. And now though, but what has happened? But let me tell you what's happened. It's also this element of, now my son is 14, and my son, every day he wakes up and it's almost like a new man comes downstairs. He started out here, but he's literally 6 feet.
Big, huge man.
And so you can't talk to your sisters that way. And it used to be okay when y'all was 3 or 4 or 5 or 6.
He has to learn about
that. But now you have to learn, dude. You can't. So he has got, even to be aware of his physicality. Yes. And so he's like, but it's my sisters. But those are girls.
Right.
And that's
you can't talk to them like that.
And so, and again, growing up, I would say to my kids, because one thing I didn't like is we would hit each other. I don't even let them hit each other. I was like, I say no physical contact, period. Because I don't want it to get to now you 6 feet and you 200 pounds almost, and you've been doing this, you're trying to do the same thing you did when you was 88 pounds and y'all was about the same height. You think you can? It was fine before.
You can't do the same thing.
But you can't switch it up on them. It can't be like you could do it. Why couldn't I do it 2 years ago? Now I can't do it because you should. So let's stop this. Let's not do it. But I remember my brother, us doing that, and
that's an interesting perspective.
No physical contact. I say all the time. I tell my kids no physical contact.
I think that when you say that, it made me think of also I was talking to my mom, and I was like, my mom was young when she had me, so she was learning.
How old was your?
She was 18.
Okay,
and
my mom was.
But she's younger than
18. But she was 15. 14, almost 15 when she had my sister. 14, almost 15. So thank God they had some sense. But keep going.
Yeah,
keep going. Because when I couldn't imagine being 18 with 2 kids and knowing how to tell them the right stuff. Good Lord.
Well, I felt like I had to bring this up to my mom because I was I remember she used to dress me and my sister up. I used to have my back out and I had cute little shorts on and stuff like that when I was little. But when I started developing, I didn't really my mama just was coming at me you trying to be fast and all that. Where you going on with this little ass shorts on? And I'm like, I used to wear this. What's going on?
I got a picture of me in little ass shorts on picture day.
My back was out and everything. I had a halter top. And she was would come at me a certain way. And I'm like, Mama, what? I'm confused. And so she didn't really quite explain my transition. You are becoming a woman, you are getting things, you know what I'm saying? You're getting breasts and all that. And people are looking at you a certain way. And so and I used to get upset with her because I'm like, Mom, you didn't explain these things. You just kind of automatically went to you being a fast ass girl. And I'm like, and so I think a lot of mothers and the mothers, and fathers, with you going through the things that you're going with Landon, you do have to explain these things to your kids. He's developing, he's getting bigger and all that. He can't talk to his sister the same way. Y'all are not equal like that. You a big ass man now. You can't do that.
He's like, but I'm 14 in my brain. I know, but you freaking a man. You're taller than half of Scott's friend.
As a physician, and you guys being friends, what advice would you give someone that is going through these different things as far as trying to get pregnant?
One of the things that we know when it comes to fertility or any kind of going through any treatment, being your best physical and mental self is going to you're going to have better outcomes, right? And so I believe in eating a pretty balanced, healthy, clean diet. I'm plant-based, meaning that I still eat meat and everything, but mostly what I eat is plants. So I'll eat, so it's not that you don't eat ribs, chicken, pork, and things like that, but it's rare. But the majority of what I eat, it came from the earth.
No Hennessy?
So alcohol is a toxin, period. Alcohol is a toxin, period. And there's a reason why you shouldn't drink when you're pregnant. And there's all these people who have these different schools of thought about, a little bit about fine when you at the latest, But I think when you think about developing human inside of you, whatever you can do to lessen inflammation, and alcohol is by definition a toxin. Yes. It is a toxic substance.
So one not drink before?
So that's a personal decision. And even so this is the thing. When it comes to again, if you're a person who never drinks, that's not a time to pick up drinking. If you're a person who drinks too much, this is a time to cut down because that could be inhibiting your ability to get pregnant. If you are a rare drinker, that's probably fine. Keep doing what you're doing. But just any toxins, if you smoke, stop smoking, right? Because that's definitely toxic and it's going to increase your risk of having a miscarriage or losing the baby, a pregnancy loss. But just keeping your body in the almost optimal position and condition to be able to receive some trauma to your body. Because the other thing about pregnancy is it's very, very traumatic to your body, right? You are in a fluid overloaded state. You actually are at an increased risk of just dying, period, because of it's just a high risk situation for you. And so if you have some medical problems that are uncontrolled, like for instance, diabetes, high blood pressure, definitely get them in control before you are getting pregnant, because there's a reason why when you're pregnant, you have a higher risk of becoming diabetic or higher risk of becoming hypertensive. And so if you already have those conditions, do what you can. Lose weight if you are overweight, because you're going to gain weight, right? So you don't want to get to the point to
where... And that's my fear.
Yeah.
I don't want to get... of course you gain weight.
But you know what? But again, if you are eating healthy, as long as you're eating, and so when we think about weight, especially when we think about it in the sense of why, if it's if a compounded situation, like meaning you've already been a heavy person, then again, using this time to understand that if you've always kind of been heavy but you're eating healthy and it's genetic, then probably it's okay. But if you're kind of rapidly gaining weight, figure out what that is about and figure out what the underlying issue is. But get whatever medical issues you have under control before you start adding on to this new medical condition called pregnancy. So that's what I'm saying. Just make sure that if something you're just like, oh, I'm concerned. I got this lump in my breast, but I'm gonna wait till after I get pregnant and have a baby to check it out. No. Let's get this checked out. And we don't want to be dealing with cancer while we're pregnant. That's a very difficult time to have to deal with that, right? And actually having the treatment sometimes can make you, of course, lose the baby. So what you have to do is just be intentional about making your body the machine that it is.
Yes.
So eating plants mostly, avoiding processed foods, drinking lots and lots of water, avoiding high like sugar, like drinks and things like that. Making sure that if alcohol is something that you're into, get some treatment for alcohol. There's treatment medications that you can be on and there's even a shot if after you get stable, like there's a medication called Vivitrol that you can actually orally take. Antabuse, actually you take it and it makes you sick if you drink alcohol. That's for people who have substance use disorder. But if you find that you're suffering and you're depressed or super anxious, again, get that under control, engage in therapy and possibly get on medication to stabilize that. If you have some medical problems that are uncontrolled, talk to your doctor and figure out the risk versus benefit because sometimes being pregnant can make that situation worse. But what you don't want to do is just ignore those things and say baby first, because you spend sometimes as money on things like IUI or IVF, and you're in a very super stressful, depressed, anxious state and not in a healthy space in your life to have a baby, that can lead to you miscarrying after spending all that money.
And
anyway.
that's why even during like the show, I was like, I was getting ready for the IUI. I didn't really start my IUI until after we wrapped up. We wrapped up in August, so I think I started, my first was in September. Okay. And so, like, I was just like, I don't want to waste. First of all, if I am going to pay for the IVF, I don't want to waste my time because like the show can be stressful.
Yeah, taking the input of the world can be very stressful on anybody.
Yes, and so like I've been
ugly, tall, short, fat, skinny, stupid, smart. I mean, I've been literally the things that people will say to you.
It's a lot coming into the very
I hate your
beginning.
hair. I love your hair. You can't dress. I love the way you dress. I mean, it's like,
I had never, I've always been like pro black woman. And so like whenever I started doing the show, like I was like, oh my God, like.
I'm still a girl's girl, but I'm
like,
convinced.
I'm convinced, terrible.
But I'm convinced that the people who come onto your page just to tell you how much they hate you are literally like, they're not well anyway. Like that there's a level.
But damn, it's a lot of them though.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's something else. Like, I mean, I've
cast members.
I mean, and
they're not well, like she said.
And that's the thing. I've never.
They're not well.
I don't have the time. I'm busy. Like I don't have the time to go in and attack somebody else. But when the people do that, then there's a level. There's something else going on. That's something else, and I can't even. And it's too complicated. I can't. It's beyond my my comfort zone to deal with that. Like I can't.
First this week I had a kind of a rough week, especially with the episode airing and all that with me at first. But then
how you doing, by the way?
I'm doing pretty good. Like. Honestly,
do you feel abandoned? Do you feel like that would be the challenge to me for you? That people who you thought loved you felt like this is the time to, if you are in need, abandon you, which is a weird reaction.
Yes.
If I think somebody is going
I did
through
feel
something,
like that. Right. I felt totally like that. Abandoned, like, especially by a lot of the cast members that tried to befriend me in the beginning before even getting on the show. Mm-hmm. And so like if you really think that I'm going through something,
check on me more.
Check in on me
more.
But, you know what I'm saying?
More.
But you clearly don't really think that I'm going through something, because why would you chastise me about it? You know what I'm saying? Like but honestly, it was in the beginning of this week, it was rough because the episode aired and all that. And like a lot of people think that they know you and they know your relationship. They don't know really. You see a heavily edited clip. This is a heavily edited show. And I think that was tough for me because it's like, I came in a reality show thinking that we were going to shoot reality. Like, I thought it was going to be real. And so...
and just to be clear, the show has not... They didn't implant that conversation. That wasn't AI. It wasn't false.
No, it wasn't a false conversation.
But it definitely...
It didn't show enough context.
And then also...
And all the things that...
Gregory is hitting you.
No.
What you heard and what you saw was not the precursor to him threatening that he's going to whoop your butt.
No. Not at all. And so it's just frustrating. It was frustrating in the beginning, but like honestly, I was like, you know what, this shit is real to y'all.
But
you guys don't know. I appreciate people caring for me and checking
that's
on me.
But that's what they felt. That's what where it ended. The implication was you're going to make me do something to hurt you. And so for me, if I thought that, my impulse would be instantly two things. Like I told you before, if you are unsafe, my house, the door, the gate,
I know where
the codes are open. That's one. And number two, in his house, we're going to kill him and hide his body. We're going to have a brand new house in the back. But number three, you are not, right, currently, to confirm. That's because that's what people want to hear. No, and I don't know if anyone ever asked you that, but that's the part that I don't like about sometimes these cliffhangers. You got to jump on the perception. We don't like the conversation. You don't like that conversation.
Right, I didn't like the conversation.
You don't like the conversation.
But also, people don't understand. They didn't see, like, one, Gregory was going through a lot. And I talked a lot about this in my green screen. Gregory was going through, he was attacked by a patient at work. Mm-hmm. And he had a fractured nose. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Gregory was dealing with a lot at that moment. And also, like, I just told him, like, hey, I'll take care of things off camera. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want you to show too much emotion about this, because he was triggered. He was very triggered, and he's like, I'm just tired of people putting their hands on me. And I think he was more frustrated with that when we were having that conversation. And I was hitting him on the table like, I don't want you to talk about this. And so I was like,
and I don't know, tell me what
so I was upset.
Knowing y'all and just reading between the lines of what I heard, and this is a problem for a lot of men. They have this thing about not telling me what to do.
Yes, and he felt like I was telling him what to do, because like I was telling him, like, I don't want you to say this and all that. Like, I was in the scene, but they didn't show that, you know, because I was even talking to producers while they were filming. I was all like, I can't really get through to him right now. Like, he's not hearing me. And I think that right now he was just having a moment. Like, you know, I think that he was really upset. And
you were telling him not to get upset.
Yes.
And you're like,
and he you get upset. And I said, I don't want you to bring this on camera. And so he got so upset, because I don't know what the producer had said to him, but he got upset and he went upstairs. And then I was like, Gregory, you know, you need to calm down. Like, I like,
because you're showing your ass right now.
You're showing your whole ass, and you don't need to. You know, I said, I'm taking care of things behind the scenes. Like, I am supporting behind, but like for this, I need you to like will it back, calm down. But also, I think he was having a moment. I remember when the producer was like, well, just go check in or whatever. But me, you know,
but there also be in the other part that people don't know. There's a house full of people.
A house full of people.
House full of people. And so sometimes you'll have these conversations behind closed doors when you just like, fuck, you know? And I was, because people have sometimes scripts even about the way that they want to kind of let things go. Do. And it's like that went off the rails, but then it's like, and I felt like he was also kind of saying, you was antagonizing me, so you made it go off the rails.
Yes.
But you're like, fuck, I wasn't antagonizing you. I was trying to make you look like good.
Right, look good.
And so you made you look bad, not me.
Yes.
But that's what I don't know. And I'm saying I'm not trying to put words in the mouth, but as much as that looked bad, I also, in the context of understanding that sometimes people don't always enjoy all of this. No. People don't always enjoy because how these things go.
He felt like he really was going to be harmed. And I was telling him, like, it's, you know, we got you.
Yeah.
But people don't know, like, Gregory was attacked by a patient. And so, like, he was fucked up back then, like, you know, over that. And I was upset about it, too. Like, person I am in my nature, like, I'm very protective. So regardless of it, it's being a man or woman, if you're my person, I'm there for you. Like, somebody want to come jump at you.
When I tell
like,
you,
let's
I
go.
was waiting for that to... Thank you. Thank you, boo. Thanks, I got yours like that too. Because even on the beach, they didn't show it, but I was like, Phaedra, is this real? What
we doing?
Like, because what's not going? I mean, just you can't come on in front of all. I mean, we gonna look like crazy if we just let this woman beat you up on TV. And Phaedra was a G. She was just like, I ain't scared.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, okay, well, but just So is this a drill? It's not a drill. Like we doing this or we not doing this? So, blink twice.
Like, what we doing?
So
that's all I was all like. So
that's
what y'all here for?
Yeah. So I mean, but it's crazy. It's like, but as much as I really, honestly, not to say like just condoning, that conversation. I've seen and heard, unfortunately, in my life, lots of ways that men don't always speak properly to women, and they have to learn how to do that. And sometimes, even at they old ass gray haired age, they still need to learn and be reminded, because the things that their parents tolerated, the things that their mothers and sisters and the cousins and the friends and the people, and they just think it's okay. It's not okay. And it's not okay, but it's not okay because it's not okay. But not because people like grow up learning how to do everything right.
Right.
I make mistakes all the time. I mean, I'm telling you, the world is, I am not proud as much as I think I was justified. I'm not proud of even being in combative situations on national television.
Yeah.
That makes me
you have your weak moments. And some people get protected by their weak moments sometimes. That sometimes you don't always get to see really everything. Like there's times like last year I remember Heavenly and Simone got into it and I was like,
oh, Heavenly threw a drink on the white girl's face, Carrie.
Oh yeah.
Remember
I remember.
And I told her, I was like, "Don't you ever throw nothing on me." Did
she react?
Carrie threw it right back on her, and they flashed back on it in like a reunion or something. But it happened. Okay. And it happened. Actually, it was at Anila's party. But I'm just saying, there's been so many times that people overreact. And again, I'm just saying, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. What I'm trying to say is, as a Contessa, I'm talking about me. I have to challenge. I'm challenged with. As a doctor and as a professional and as a wife and as a mom whose kids are watching her, I tell them all the time, I don't believe in bullying. I don't believe in getting bullied. And if you don't stand up to a bully, they will get worse. Yeah, I don't care what,
I agree.
I don't believe in that.
I always believe, because sometimes you got to get bullied. I've always felt like I was the bully to the bully.
Yeah. Well, I believe this. One thing I've noticed is that people earn their stripes on people. And so if they see weakness in you and they think you're a bully or a punk, they will keep messing with you because it makes them look bigger because they've chosen somebody to bully. And so you gotta just be like, girl, you better keep moving. Like, I ain't the one, keep it moving. Because they will. If they find that you will take it and you will keep taking it, then that's what I've seen. And my undergrad degree is in psychology, but that's what I've seen, that a lot of times, some people call it, there's two processes. Like you can do what's called a gray rock. Gray rock meaning that you become like this dead space. And so when someone's like, you're stupid, yeah, you're right, I'm stupid. You're dumb. Yeah, you're right, I'm dumb. You're ugly. I'm so ugly.
Right.
And then it becomes not enjoyable for them, so they'll move on. But for some people, and I hate that term like narcissist, but for some people, they get empowered by, you are dumb, ain't you? Now what? And it's like, wow, what is wrong? But that's what you don't know is the toxic undertone of that person. So then, not trying to psychoanalyze anybody, you sometimes have to secretly record or turn a mirror on them and be like, this is what happened. I know in your mind, you heard this. I tried to repeat it to you and you didn't catch it.
It didn't register.
But do you realize that you're calling me stupid and dumb and ugly? And then they watch it and like, oh crap, I didn't know I did that. I thought you were trying to antagonize me. No, I was great rocking you. I was like, I was giving you zero response. But in their head, because they're not even paying attention to the situation. And so that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not, again, psychoanalyzing. I only have a bachelor's in psychology. But what I do know is that you can't always throw out the baby with the bathwater. You have to, with everybody, give people grace and time. Yeah. My daddy went to prison more times than I'd like to admit. My daddy today is the only living grandparent that my children have. Wow. Imagine had I thrown out that man. My kids would have no grandparent, and they would have, as much as he is not a perfect man, nor does he attest to be. At this point, what he is all that they know. They would have had zero. I mean, yes, my dad has been abusive. Yes, my dad can speak crazy. Yes, my dad has done drugs. He's abandoned us, all those things. But he has apologized. He has said, I'm actively trying to change. He has changed for us. And to my kids, he's none of those things. He doesn't always show up in exactly the way he should, but when I can confront him with that, he is now in a place and space because his motivation
and change it
is to have the relationship. If he didn't have that motivation, he was just like, because you sometimes will see people like, well, it just is what it is. This is the way I am, and you take me as I lead. That's not my dad, and I can only speak from a person who also is not perfect. And I have done things that some people would turn up their nose on, and why did she do that? I'm not perfect.
Yeah,
I want people to show me grace. I want to make a mistake. I want to say I'm sorry. I'm actively trying to repair that. I'm not perfect.
Right.
And I don't want somebody to be like, this is just the way you are. No, it's the way I was because I didn't know.
Right.
And I think you are amazing. And I think you are patient.
I am.
And I think you've got to say what it is that you, from IUI, IVF, kids, all those things that you want to achieve. Because as your friend, I want to make sure, as your hype man, as your homie, that you achieve your goals, because that's what love is. That's to me what friendship and love and sisterhood looks like. And if it's not that, then it is a co-worker situation. But I don't operate in that low vibration.
Yeah,
I don't.
When I was going through something, I remember I was like just having a bad day, and you told me come over, and we sat in the movie room and we just chilled, and I was like, you pop some popcorn. And I got my thoughts off, and I really appreciate that. And like honestly, it's been, especially amongst the cast. I think when I came into the cast, I just kind of felt like I was new to Atlanta too, and I wanted to really make friends.
You still are.
That. And so and I still am, and I just appreciate that because you were one of the most genuine. You weren't even on the first season. You know what I'm saying? Like you were the most genuine to me, and so I appreciate that. Like. It's been a tough journey. I've learned a lot about myself. I've become a stronger person based off of things I've experienced on the show. It's given me a tougher skin. Like
absolutely, you have to.
Yeah, you do. You become strong. Like
absolutely.
I swear. Like if you can see my muscles,
I see. Give it to them, girl.
My mental muscles, baby.
Yeah,
the motherfuckers is
resilience.
Strong,
it's
man.
called resilience.
Resilience.
It is.
Yes. And so I went to beginning of the week. I was really like kind of feeling down, because like social media will make you feel like, you relive
names like you're dumb.
Yes, it's terrible. And so like when I went,
you deserve this.
I was working. Yeah, like what? How do you know I deserve? You don't even know me like that.
That's a way to love her through it.
And so
I mean, but think about that. But if someone is in a situation that is a toxic situation, but then you make them seem like there's nowhere else to go because out there is worse than in here, why would they ever be honest about anything?
Right.
That's the other part of it. Like the way that response is counterintuitive because that's for a lot of women. That's why if they are even in a difficult situation,
they shut down
because they don't have a safe space to go to.
Right. You don't provide
it's like,
that.
At least I can go over there and like, at least here.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have a safe space.
This ain't healthy either. It's like, I mean, I just want it to get better. I want life to get better. I want things to improve.
What we asked one of our guests, Gregory, last week, is there something positive that you can take away from this season?
Oh, I think the positive thing is life is imperfect. And the more and more is, I do not enjoy the darkness. I thought last season was dark. I thought this season was dark too.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy the darkness of the show this year. But I do think but I think seasons in people's lives are dark. Mm-hmm. And so if you act like everything is light, and again, because that's taking off my personal hat, putting back on my personal hat, but also my professional hat. As a doctor, that's what I handle all the time. For a lot of people, it could be a well-person check, like a well-person exam. Everything is normal. Congratulations, I'll see you back when you decide to come back. Maybe a couple of years, 5 years, whatever. A lot of times I'd like to see you annually, but if I can't get you back, I need you at least back for these things because everything looks great. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's not a good year. Sometimes there was some lesion that was concerning, so we maybe have to do a little biopsy. Maybe have to send you to a specialist, got to work this up. Maybe we got to go through a little physical therapy because you had a little accident, right? And now you got to get some rehab. This is if you are thinking life is all about glory and roses, then when it happens to you, you can be so fatalistic that you don't make it through. Mm-hmm. But if you see sometimes, even from using us as the example, that shit, my stuff is bad, but that's actually worse.
Yeah.
I can navigate this because I don't know if I can handle that. That actually, to me, is also a benefit of reality television, because as much as people sometimes can be toxic by using you as their punching bag, you also can maybe be a cautionary tale, or even some advice for them to like go and maybe seek help or be inquisitive about their own situation. Or even maybe somebody was like, you know what, me and this guy, when we lived, we've been married for 20 years, whatever, he get on my nerves. We ain't talking all the time. We got some money problems. I feel like something's going on. He's not being honest about this. I was gonna leave. But now maybe I can have some patience and let's see if we can navigate this. Because in the world, our quick response is to leave everything. Everything.
It is. It's so, especially on social media, everybody feels like they can
burn, baby, burn.
Leave a damn social,
burn
like you can just leave a situation. I live in reality, and so like when I started off having a bad week, I actually went in the afternoon to help Gregory at work. And honestly, I felt great. I was just like, I'm like, this is just what life is about. Like, I was helping people. And so like, it just really, I realized, I'm like, I need to live in my really true reality and my real life. Because people don't know really you and what you go through. They don't know the ins and outs of your relationship. They don't know the inner workings of your marriage or none of that.
And I'll say it, he don't want to lose you. He will fix what it takes to not lose you. And I don't know if that motivation maybe has been there in past relationships, and maybe the way that the operation has worked, but I see in him a motivation that I've never seen before to fix it. And that's beautiful and powerful. And a lot of times it does take a consequence. Again, I do addiction medicine. People think, oh man, you know what? Somebody has, not going to throw anybody under the bus, but somebody has like a DUI or something, right? And now they didn't feel like the drinking was a problem, but losing their license or freedom is the motivation, because you see it is a consequence to that. And so it doesn't sometimes it's not going to be, oh, I just want to be a better person because I feel like I want to be a better person. Sometimes it is actually being able to acknowledge the fact that this is important to me and I don't want this bad outcome. And shit, this is bad, And that's what I'm saying. For some people, it does take a consequence. And I do sometimes think you have to be reflective at times and say what I need to fix. And I think that's really, to me, what should have been the first question. Like, was there a lesson learned? And did that fix anything? Did that leave? Versus, take off my shoe and throw it at you. Good Lord, you're horrible. It's like, because that's the first question, right? And my kids get in trouble at school. I'm like, okay, why'd you do that? And then what did you learn from that? Versus, you live in a garage now. That is your new home. Your permanent place that you live is in a garage until I can legally put your ass out.
I don't want to look at your ass.
And but we all make mistakes.
We all do.
There are consequences. Sometimes the consequences are harsh, but for a lot of people, it becomes enough for them to make a change.
And I have a lot of reason to be motivated to change. Like even though I'm not a mother, I'm preparing myself mentally to be a mom. And so,
why do you want to be a mom?
Because I feel like, one, I want that unconditional love, especially, when I look at my sister and I look at her kids, and, I'm like, I've always wanted to experience that kind of love, and the way my mom, like, she had motivation. I got to see that growing up. My mom, she really, I got to watch her grow. She went to school, I saw her graduate from college and all that, and I know she was doing it for us.
Yeah.
I get emotional thinking about that because
it's beautiful.
My mom is my rock. I go to her for everything. And I saw the love that she had for me, and that's what I want. I want to experience that same kind of love.
It's beautiful. And if you need to borrow Lauren or Layla, one or two of them may be returned instantly. Some of them are easier than others. Got to be honest about it. And they know who they are, and they'll tell you. But that is beautiful.
Yeah, I want to experience that kind of love.
I want that for you.
I love kids. I love what they could do for you. They teach you a lot. Like even though I have my nephew, like he's motivated me to change. Like, you know, I look at him, he looks up to me, and, you know, and sometimes I realize that you gotta parent the you in them too. And so like I just love that reward of, you know, having a seed and you water it and you grow it and you watch it, and, you know, I want that. You know, I love family. And you know, when I met Gregory, that's something that he always wanted. And, you know, he doesn't have his parents anymore. He doesn't have, you know, his family around. His parents passed. His brother, he just has his brother. And then recently he just lost his uncle, that one parental figure that he had left.
Okay, so again, I do this for a living. That, for a lot of people, what you said is so isolating, and it makes them.
It is, and that's what he talks about, isolation.
Like, I'm in the world by myself. As much as they're married, a lot of people. And how do you deal with that pain and trauma? And how do you that grief,
yeah,
and that permanence?
And so, you know, I think Gregory, even he talks about this all the time. He said he felt like he was isolated. He felt like he didn't have his family around, and you know, and then also he's always buried himself in work. You know, his identity, especially as a man, you know, they're all about work ethic and all that, and that's like kind of like their identity.
Yeah.
And so I think Gregory, he really leans into his work. Like, he's busy all the time, and I've become busy within his life, and so I realized there's times that I see that he has been. I feel bad for him because he doesn't really
take care of himself.
Yeah, he doesn't take care of the way he should. And so as much as people are like, you know, they see a clip and they think they know everything, like, you know, this man, you know, I love this man, I'm gonna protect him, you know. Our spouse has their weak moments. So, you know, I made a covenant before God, like, through sickness and health. Like, you know, I ain't going nowhere. And if my spouse is going through something, I'm going to work through things with them. I'm going to see that they get help and all that. And, you know, then that's what a spouse does. Like, you know, like you said, you can't just easily leave a situation so quick and fast and just give up. Like, no. Gregory's a great guy, you know. I really feel for him because he hasn't really had that proper platform. You know, the show is about the women, so he has never really had a platform to really talk about himself and, you know, what the things that he deals with. Because a lot of people just, you know, they don't care, especially being on the show. And so I wish that I try to tell him that, like, you know, regardless of, I don't care how many times that you express yourself, they may not highlight that. Yeah. You know? And so, like, you know, I have my YouTube channel sometimes. If he had, you know, it's a safe space that you can come and you can express yourself and explain some of the things that you go through. Because I think that, you know, you have a story to tell. I told Gregory he should write a book about the things that he's experienced in life, you know, grow up in Chicago and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, and he's a man that's learning, he's growing. And, you know, and we're gonna keep pressing on.
That's right.
We're gonna keep pressing on because that's my motherfucking man.
Period. But I will say too, sometimes when you are like isolated, nobody can come in your house. And I've been welcome here so many times. I mean, there's other people in here, and, you know, we ain't even filming. So I'm just saying, that's the other part. This has also become a home and a safe space for you.
It feels like it's a home.
Yeah.
You know, he was saying, like, he always felt like he never really had a home. And, you know, whenever he said that, whenever I came, he really felt like.
But that's you.
Yeah.
It's not the building. It's not this. No.
That's what,
yes,
it
always
is.
For people who maybe not expressing it that way, not being able adequately to express, and then to get frustrated because, and again, there's some I know my husband hates that term about toxic masculinity, but a lot of times
that's the thing, though.
It's a thing, but men don't always express the way that they should. They're not always as delicate, as gentle. Sometimes they explode. Sometimes they attack the person closest to them. Now, of course, you don't have the bandwidth to tolerate it forever. But if you see someone actively trying to improve that, and doing the health, but also understanding that you are the home. Mm-hmm. And this, if y'all moved and sold this house and moved somewhere else, he would still feel at home. Mm-hmm. Which is a blessing. Where mama's at. Which is a blessing. Which is a blessing. It is. Which is a blessing to find your person. Mm-hmm. I just want you to know that that's true. That you're it's really the person. Yeah. Oh yeah. So you can find me, I'm Dr. Contessa on all major platforms. Okay. I'm chair of the American Diabetes Association, Georgia chair of the American Diabetes Association. I do a lot of political stuff. I've been, they didn't show it all. Been to the White House I haven't been invited this year. I don't know if the current administration likes me. I don't know. But I'm still vying to be Surgeon General one day. Don't forget about me, you can find me on all major platforms. I'm always doing some philanthropy. At this point in my life, a little bit of a socialite, mostly about things that matter, which is actually, if I'm a socialite, is to earn or generate money for some charity or some service. Because it's all, at this point, it's all butter, right? It's all butter. It's all, the life that we've been allowed to lead and to even share with the world as a kid growing up in America, where less than 6% of doctors are black. And I'm saying, when I say doctors, I'm talking about physicians. I can't speak of all the other PhDs, DO, stuff like that. But, 2.8, less than 3% of women, black women. So to be kind of a unicorn in a sea of unicorns, it's a blessing. No, it's a blessing. But you also have to remember that with, great responsibility, right? Great sacrifice and great power comes responsibility. And my responsibility is to share my background. So a kid who has my background will say, if she could, I can.
Yep.
That's what I'm all about right now. So it's not about my own self-edification. It's about somebody seeing it and saying, you can too.
Well, thank you guys. Contessa is amazing. I'm so happy that you came and see me, love.
Of course. Anytime, baby.
All right, y'all. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next video. Bye. So we're gonna make this conversational, just really just chill. It ain't even like, I'm very chill.
I
sometimes.
love that you're very chill.
I even sometimes get my little blanket and just.
Well, congratulations. Congratulations on everything that you have accomplished.
Thank you.
Congratulations on coming to Atlanta and turning it into your own. This is a hard city to conquer.
It sure is.
I feel like you've done that.
Yes.
In a couple of short years. I've been here since 2006.
Oh, you've been here for a while.
I've been here since all three of my kids were born here, and it takes a minute to conquer this place. So good job.
Thank you.
So cheers to that.
Cheers.
And you got access to the damn money, girl. What? I had to go to medical school to get access to the money.
Child, I went through trials and tribulations to get here, but
don't we all though? If we're
honest. It's not just given though. Yeah. We all earn it.
We all earn it.
We all earn it.